yours truly, Brevin Thompson, is back. This time to start off my series of Daniel Craig 007 reviews leading up to No Time to Die, which I'm really looking forward to checking out. And this time I decided to start off with Casino Royale, which was directed by Martin Campbell and starred Daniel Craig in his very first outing as 007. And when this film came out back in 2006, this was like when it came to Daniel Craig, it definitely was like a very questionable casting choice because of him being the first Bond to have blonde hair and blue eyes. I remember like a lot of people were like, I don't know about this guy being the new James Bond after Pierce Brosnan, because when it came to Casino Royale, however, this was very much different compared to most other Bond films in the past. Because after Die Another Day, which went too heavy with the comedy as well as the gadgets and a lot of over-the-top stuff, which has pretty much been talked about to death at this point, they wanted it to be more grounded and more serious for Casino Royale. And when it came to Daniel Craig's interpretation of James Bond, it blew everybody away. And to this day, Daniel Craig is one of my favorite interpretations of the James Bond character. A lot of people will say that they love Sean Connery, and I love Sean Connery as well. He was a terrific Bond, may he rest in peace. I know, like, some people like Roger Moore, and some don't like him at all. Some, like George Lazenby, who only did one Bond movie, which was On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I've seen like a few people comment on Timothy Dalton, who is easily the most underrated Bond of all time, especially when it comes to his two films that he did, which was The Living Daylights and License to Kill. And I've seen like a lot of people mixed on Pierce Brosnan, even though he did only one good Bond movie, which was GoldenEye, which I really loved. And all of his other films after GoldenEye kept getting into just... Good God, what the hell were they doing? But when it came to Casino Royale, however, it was incredible and it blew everybody away. And to this day has been ranked as one of the best, if not possibly the best James Bond film of all time. And it's definitely one of my personal favorites, so I'm really happy to be talking about this film. Now, when it comes to tropes in Bond films that we're used to seeing, every film opens with the famous gun barrel sequence, and for this one, it doesn't start off with a gun barrel sequence. It builds up to that, and I like how it builds up to it with this black and white opening with Bond taking out his first two targets, which makes him a 00 agent. And when it comes back to after he kills the second man, it cuts back to the first man that he's about to kill, and he picks up his gun right when the first guy is trying to kill him. He turns around, fires his gun, and we get our first Daniel Craig gun barrel sequence, and it looks so awesome. And of course, it starts off Chris Cornell's "You Know My Name," which I think is a pretty good Bond song, and it's definitely one of my favorites. But probably my favorite Bond song would probably be Adele's "Skyfall," which I definitely think is one of the most beautiful Bond themes ever. Now, when it comes to the parkour chase in Madagascar, holy shit, this is amazing. The stunt work in this scene is just incredible. Everything about it is just like, I'm not gonna lie, I could watch it for hours and never be bored of it, because it's just like everything that Bond goes through to try to catch this bomb maker, and it's just incredible. First, he's just chasing him, and then he gets a tractor to try to keep going for the guy. He keeps climbing up. Then they're fighting on top of a crane. Then they jump through another crane. Then they jump to another building, and the bomb maker's like doing these crazy maneuvers, and Bond still keeps chasing them, even like plowing right through a wall just to keep chasing the guy. And it's just fucking amazing. And just like I said, the stunt work is just incredible. I'm like, give these people an Oscar. I'm like, give any stunt performer an Oscar, damn it! Just get on that shit already. Another thrilling action sequence is the one in the airport, and Bond like chasing this like one guy who's trying to blow up a plane, and the truck chase in particular is also pretty incredible. And I like how it ends with like Bond not knowing that without the bomber knowing it, he attaches the bomb disguised as a keychain on the bomber and tricks himself into blowing himself up. I was just like, that's some pretty dark shit. And there's like a lot of stuff where it came close. I mean, this is about like the closest that we've gotten to an R-rated James Bond film, and in one scene in particular, which I'll get to in a minute. Another thing that I love about Casino Royale is its villain, Le Chiffre, played by Mads Mikkelsen. And one thing that I like about him is that he's not really a villain per se. He is a private banker to the world's terrorists, and you realize that he's just not doing what he does just because, he's just a random evil guy who just wants to take over the world. This is a guy who owes money to terrible people who are more dangerous than he is because he needs to give them money or else he's dead. And that's one thing that I like about Le Chiffre is because he's at the end of his rope. He has to get the money that he needs or else his time is up. And that's one thing that I like about Casino Royale is that it makes the characters more human compared to most Bond films. And Martin Campbell did a really good job, capturing that. Now, when it comes to the high-stakes poker game in Casino Royale in Montenegro, I love every minute of this game. It's just it's probably my favorite poker game put on film. Everything that happens in this game in between it is just amazing. It's beautifully shot and edited, and that's what I love about... Another thing that I love about Casino Royale is how beautifully shot and edited it is. And I like the stairway fight, which I thought was beautifully shot and edited. And I know how, most fight scenes and, stairways are mostly filmed in some action movies. Some of them are filmed great, some of them not. This one is amazing, and I like how this is shot with Bond, showing Bond taking out two guys, and with the help of Vesper, played by Eva Green. How this ends, with Bond covered in blood, and one moment in the entire franchise that we never see Bond in a bathroom cleaning blood off of his body, which kind of shows a little bit more humanity to his character. But the scene with Vesper in the shower with her clothes on and Bond entering the shower with her with his clothes on as well, she's completely traumatized after helping Bond kill the second guy. And she feels like she still has blood on her hands, and Bond helps Vesper clean that blood off of her hands. And you think that after that they would be sleeping with each other, but then it shows in the next shot that they woke up in separate rooms. So it kind of built up to what would eventually become their love story in the third act, which is something that I really love. It takes its time to develop the characters. In one moment, Le Chiffre completely cleans out Bond, and I always love the shot of Bond just staring at the table in defeat. And another moment that I love is right when Bond orders a drink. Of course, vodka martini, and when the barman asks him, shaken or stirred, Bond answers, do I look like I give a damn? Because it takes all of the James Bond tropes that we're used to seeing and then just completely turns them all upside down, because whenever we see Bond order a drink, we, of course, always hear him say, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. And him saying, do I look like I give a damn, is something that we never expect him to say in any of the films. And just when Bond is about to kill Le Chiffre with a knife, he's stopped by Felix Leiter, played by Jeffery Wright. he gives Bond some of his money to allow Bond to continue to participate in the game. And this leads to one suspenseful moment where Le Chiffre's girlfriend poisons Bond with his drink. And everything about this scene, I remember first watching it as a kid, and I was like, oh my god, he got poisoned. And everything about this scene is just so suspenseful. I mean, it makes you wonder if Bond is going to survive or not, because when it comes to like Bond in like really tight situations, and in most Bond films, you know he's going to be. I mean, he's going to be okay eventually. This film changed that because it makes Bond feel more human. So he gets an antidote, and Vesper revives him with his defibrillator, and when he enters the table, I have always loved this line.
I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
And of course, Bond wins with a straight flush, and Le Chiffre is pissed. He has his men kidnap Vesper, and Bond goes to rescue her. And when it comes to the shot with his Aston Martin like flipping like over and over like 7 times, just like, holy shit, that is just it's believable. I can say that. But when it comes to the scene with Le Chiffre torturing Bond by whipping him in the nutsack with a rope, that's kind of difficult for any guy to watch, honestly. So he tortures Bond to try to get the password so he can eventually get all the money for himself. And the one thing that I liked about this scene is just Bond just laughing, and he says the line, "Now the whole world's gonna know that you died scratching my balls." and And another thing that we're used to seeing in most Bond films is Bond killing the villain in the third act of the film. This film kind of changed that because Le Chiffre is killed by Mr. White, who works for the organization that Le Chiffre owes money to, and not by Bond, which is something that we're mostly not used to seeing in most Bond films. Now, when it comes to the third act, it's basically a tragic love story between Bond and Vesper. I've always liked Eva Green as Vesper, and she's definitely one of my favorite Bond girls. Because of Bond falling in love with Vesper, he wants to resign from MI6 and travel around the world with her, and how this story eventually ends, it's really tragic. And when it comes to like Vesper, how she eventually betrays Bond by trying to give the money to these terrorists that Le Chiffre owed money to, and when it comes to that one scene in the building where Bond is taking out the bad guys one by one and trying to rescue Vesper, and Vesper trapping herself in an elevator, and she allows herself to drown because the building is like literally sinking into the ocean, and Bond being unable to save her. It's really tragic, and it's definitely heartbreaking. I mean, Vesper betraying Bond and allowing herself to drown right in front of Bond. It's very heartbreaking. And how the film ends, I really love, but I'll get to that in a second. The scene with Bond calling M, played by Judi Dench. Out of all the actors and actresses who played M, I've always loved Judi Dench as M. She's my personal favorite portrayal of this character. And when Bond reports about what happened, he says a line that's straight out of Ian Fleming's novel: "The job's done, and the bitch is dead." And when Bond eventually tracks down Mr. White, the line that Bond says is my favorite line in the entire film, when he finally says his catchphrase. The name's Bond. James Bond. And right after that, it cuts to black, and we finally hear James Bond's theme, because throughout the entire film, we never hear James Bond's theme until the end of the film. And David Arnold's score, I've always loved it. He's always been one of my favorite composers for a Bond film. And honest to God, I wish they would bring him back because he's one of the few composers who is actually great at delivering a solid James Bond score, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the Casino Royale, it's definitely one of the top 5 best Bond films, and probably, in my opinion, the best James Bond film of all time, right next to Goldfinger, in my opinion. Top 3 for me, it's mostly of Casino Royale, Goldfinger, and Skyfall. Those are like the top 3 for me, because the 2 best Bonds are mostly, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this, is mostly Sean Connery and, of course, Daniel Craig, because Daniel Craig, because of his interpretation of Bond being much more darker and more serious and more grounded in reality, mostly when it comes to Casino Royale, that's like a lot that I love about Daniel Craig's interpretation of James Bond, because it's much more darker and more serious and tries to like distance itself from like the gadgets and the one-liners. Sure, there's like a few one-liners here in this film as well, but the film doesn't like over-rely on that and tries to like distance itself from the Bond formula that we're used to seeing in most Bond films. But still, Casino Royale is a solid film with a great Bond, a great villain, a great Bond girl, a terrific score, excellent cinematography, excellent editing, excellent direction. And if you have not, by any chance, checked out Casino Royale, I highly recommend it. Go watch it as soon as possible. And of course, Casino Royale earns an A+. So guys, stay tuned to my review for Quantum of Solace. I definitely have some things to say about that film pretty soon. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new movies, of course, you know where to find me. Buck Martini. Shaken, not stirred.